What is up, guys? Archon here, bringing you guys another YouTube video. And in today's video, I'm going to be kind of ranting / talking about team fight tactics and the balance of the game thus far. If you guys recall, we did a video, me and my friend, talking about some TFT issues and patch notes in the past. I wanted to do a follow-up because we've had a couple patches since then. This one will be by myself. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kind of talk about some issues I have with the game still and some new ones that have popped up. The biggest issue I have thus far is that Riot is balancing the live server game around champions that don't exist yet. They're on the PTR, but they don't exist on live. And in case you're wondering what I'm talking about, Gunslinger, Brawler, and Shapeshifter 6 are impossible to get on live. You cannot get them under any circumstances. Blademaster Change is the only one that you can actually get, albeit it's really hard to do because you need 3 borks in order to get there. But again, Shapeshifter, Brawler, and Gunslinger can never get to their 6th tier on live. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. It cuts the power of Brawler, especially since you're balancing on the PTR anyway, or the PBE, sorry. I'm going to say PTR just because WoW uses the PTR and League uses PBE. I apologize in advance if I say it again. That's just what I mean. I'm sorry. Anyway, but you use the PBE to balance the Brawler category and the Gunslingers and the Shapeshifters. You leave live alone until you're ready to implement the 6 of each class, so that way you can actually get them. Because right now in live, Brawlers do feel kind of strong, but they fall off really fast, and the reason they fall off is because you can't get that extra 500 HP, I think it is, from Tier 3. Gunslingers have been messed with so bad that it's hard to even use them in some cases. There are some minute things that you can do with them that make them really strong, like you have to pair them with other class types though, like you have to use a spatula and something else to make Graves really good. Tristana really good. Lucian is kind of okay by himself. MF is meh. She's, I think, the only level 5 not to get nerfed yet so far, to some degree. But they went from being able to hit every target within their range at 5 Gunslingers to now not being able to get to Tier 3 to hit 3 other people per auto. So they can only hit 2 other people max until the PTR comes to live, or PBE comes to live. And that's just not good balancing. It's just not. And this is actually going to continue to happen until we have, 9 of each type of champion in the game. The next set of heroes, I'm sure Riot is going to bump up Shapeshifters, Brawlers. We could even see Phantom be buffed up to some degree, maybe, to like 3 or 4, and then you'll just never be able to get those one-off buffs because they don't exist in the live server. I really hope that they realize their mistake here and they don't do this again in the future, because as much as Phantom already sucks, to never be able to actually get Phantom on live would just kill it. Let's be honest, it would straight kill Phantom. It's already weak enough as is. One target losing down to 100% or 100 HP isn't really the biggest thing in the world, especially since they can still heal it up if it happens to be on an 80 carry, or if tank has Redemption, it almost instantly procs Redemption. So they just heal it right back off. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on the balance of the classes. Next up would be items. So right now, there's a chance that you don't get an item from one of the monster fights. Instead, you get gold, which before, you used to never get anything. You were either getting items or nothing. So I'm glad they're at least trying to figure out a step in the right direction, right? My proposal would be to have literally everything drop items. It would still be random what item you get, but everything would drop items. Everything on screen would have an item drop. And you might be thinking, well, this is crazy. Why would you do this? The early game would be overrun. Hear me out. If we did this it would cause people to actually have to strategize. Because now, if somebody has, let's say, a Bloodthirster, do you want to use your items if you happen to get a red buff? Odds are you did, or a Morello's. Do you want to use that now on somebody in order to prevent the red buff? Or the Bloodthirster, sorry, not the red buff. Do you want to use that to prevent Bloodthirster from healing? Or do you want to prevent the Redemption from healing, So now you're using your items in a counteractive way. And now you're going to say, well, people will just hold on to their items then because they don't want to get beat. But there will still be people in the early game who want to use their items to try to push for a huge advantage since they don't have to worry about carousel priority anymore. The carousel as a whole is a whole nother mess, which we'll talk about in a second as well. But now they'll be pushing for the early game wins to try to get a big hot streak. And there'll be people who will not use their items and hang on to them and use them in the late game to counteract these people who use their items in the early game. And then it will become a matter of, did you use your items smartly in the first portion of the game? Because the game's pretty much divided into thirds. You have your early game, you have your mid game, and then you have your late game, obviously. The early game, to me, how I play it is I'm willing to lose a bunch of rounds just to econ early and get carousel and item priority, because I think item priority is absolutely huge. If you don't get lucky and get items on any of the monster drops, you're done. You're just done. Like, you have to get a bunch of items, otherwise you're just done. Then you have mid game, where people who got their items early game will dominate. Then you have late game, where those people that got their items may not be winning as much because the people who were underneath and got wrecked by, the mid and the early are now able to get carousel priority in a way and pick and choose what items they wanted to make rather than relying on the RNG to make the items for them right out the gate. So I think adding a bunch of items would still hold that intact. There would still be the people who make the things early to try to get an advantage. Mid-game, it would be a little less detrimental because you could then kind of maybe use your items to control how much you're losing by, which is another big thing about losing early. You want to control and try to always lose by 1 or 2 if possible. You don't want to lose to a full team, obviously, because you take more damage. And then late game, those people that decided to econ can then try to position themselves through random rolls, obviously. So it's not even guaranteed that you're going to get what you want. It's still random. But at least they'll have a better shot at winning late game instead of having a case where, they got to golems and wolves and just game gave them gold both times. And now they're so far behind item-wise because maybe they only got 1 item off the minion wave and 2 off the carousel, that one of which they can actually make into something they wanted, the other item being random, that now it's just impossible for them to overcome the detriment. Especially if the person with the items actually econned like what they were doing as well. It then forces them into a situation where they just can't win. And I think that's ridiculous. So just make everything drop items. Make everything drop items and keep the item drops random still. And the game would be a lot better off. That's my opinion. Sorry guys, it's late. I'm kind of losing my train of thought a bit here. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a ranty video. The next thing would be the carousel. Right now, I think that with items being the way they are, the 8th place player should always have priority on the carousel and be the only one picking when it first comes up. The 7th place player can wait. The 8th place player is losing more than you. Therefore, he should have some type of priority, whether it be he's losing because of choice or because things just didn't work out in the early rounds and everybody else got a bunch of items on him and just got a bunch of level 2s. That happens as well. He should have some type of way to bounce himself back into the game. Instead, we have 7th and 8th going at the same time, and if 7 and 8 happen to be moving or going for the same comp, you're now at the mercy of the spinning carousel wheel in 8th place, hoping that the opponent doesn't get lucky and get the same item that you want on their side, because there's no way you're going to outrun somebody who is 3 feet from an item when you're completely double that on the opposite side. It's just not going to happen. So I propose that the 8th player be able to pick first, and to decrease any trolling in the game, give him like 5 seconds to pick, 5 to 6 seconds once he can move. And from there, you then unlock everybody else's circles in 2s. You can keep the 2s if you wanted to, or you can just unlock everybody's circle. I don't care. Except for the last place person. That would actually be really fun. Have almost like another starting carousel. So the 8th player would get first pick. First place player would always get last priority. And then everybody else could just pick at the same time. That would be something they could do. I doubt that's the way they would go. If it ever did go the way I would want it to go, it would probably be 8th would pick first, then it would unlock in 2s like it has now been doing for the past, since launch. But yeah, I think 8th place should get some type of priority They've definitely earned it. It'll help them in the late game, stay alive in the late game. Because, like I said, people use their items in the early game to win out. And if you're using items to win out in the early game, maybe you build something in the early game that helps you but doesn't help you in the late game. That's your fault. That's your fault for not hanging on to your items. So, I definitely think the carousel needs to be looked at. Champion balance, that's probably the last big thing, right? I don't feel there's a lot of overpowered champions. And that's, to me, not the healthiest thing. Like, I'm not saying everybody needs to be, Vigor 3 at, stage 2 levels of powerful, where he's just one-shotting everybody with, double Seraph's Embrace, and there's nothing you can do about it because you don't have a level 2 Vigor, or level 3, sorry. You don't have a level 3 to counteract him. I feel they need to buff some champions. Like, I don't understand why they took the power out of the level 1 units. I get that they're level 1, but that's what you're playing the game with for the majority of the game. Like, until the mid-game, you're going to just use level 1 units. So why not let them compete with some of, like, the higher-end ones if you're going for class bonuses? Like, they've completely gutted Graves from what he was at the start of the game back on the PBE. He is completely gutted. Tristana feels gutted. Vayne, they brought them all down to Vayne's level, rather than buffing Vayne up to their level. And that's the big problem. And this is a problem that Riot has on League of Legends as well, on the live server there as well. Like, rather than buffing anything with significant buffs just to see what it creates, they instead just sit there and just pull everybody down until everybody's weak, and then now there's champions who were so bad before that now become good because everything else has been pulled down. I would love to see like a league patch, even in the preseason, where they just go crazy and buff everybody and give everybody stupid buffs just to see how it plays out. And if you don't like it, you can always revert it before the season starts. That's kind of what I feel like Teamfight Tactics needs. It's still in beta. There's still room for improvement. You can do all this crazy stuff that you want right now. I get that there's a ranked mode you want to play around, but I mean, if you're willing to just forego 3 classes for ranked, just because you want to add new heroes later or new champs later, why can't you just do crazy buffs like this? Put them on the PBE, see what happens. That's what the PBE for both League and Teamfight are for, is to test out crazy things. But now it seems like the meta is Kennen with Morelos GA. You have level 3 Vigor with both Seraph's Embrace. Let's see, what else is there? Draven, because Draven's pretty much still universal. I don't know why they haven't cut any power out of Draven's kit. He can be plugged and played anywhere in any comp. It's ridiculous because to get Imperial buff, you only need 2 Imperials because there's only 4 in the game. I can't wait to see that one, by the way. Next time they add an Imperial, watch, people are going to complain because they can't get their Imperial buff anymore. I mean, they've gutted Assassins. They feel very weak without like having 3 items on all of them, compared to what they were in the past. I really didn't have an issue with Assassins. But it just, I don't know. The game's gonna get stale over time because of these problems. So like I said, Draven, Kennen could be looked at. Vigor 3 needs to be looked at. They did buff him, which was weird to me. I don't know why they would buff him when the only value you're getting out of Vigor is a rocket race to see if you can get to Vigor 3 before anybody else can get a bunch of level 3s in their comp. That was a little weird to me. So now you make it to where he can just execute people even at level 3 or deal at least 50% of their HP up front. I don't understand that decision either. But yeah, a level 3 unit's allowed to decimate like this, but Karthus got nerfed. At least it feels like he did. Aurelion Sol, I'm pretty sure, got nerfed as well. And the Dragon buff got completely gutted. Like, I don't understand what they're doing balance-wise. I don't get it. Was Shyvana and Aurelion Sol really that bad when you've got Vigor one-shotting people anyways? And then you buff Vigor to make things worse. Like, I played a game earlier, which I think is on this video here, which you guys will be able to see. I'll put this whole game up for you, or leave it running once this is all done. But I played a game where I had Vigor 3 and was literally just one-shotting everything on the map. Just that. And it's stupid. It shouldn't be that way. I don't know. It's hard to balance. Like I said, I'm tired, so I'm kind of rambling. I'm losing my train of thought a lot, too. Sorry, guys. I know I said it earlier, but the point still stands. It's a frustrating mess. Like, it just blows me away. And the game's still fun, don't get me wrong. I mean, ranked, you have to do one of the three things I talked about, Draven, Kennen, or Veigar. Like, there's no way of winning without it. Unless somehow you can get a 3-item Cho that one-shots the backline, which was pretty ridiculous. I'm still not sure how that went about. Like, I get AP Cho is a thing in the actual league, but I, for whatever reason, didn't think Cho with, Rabadon's Morellos would be one-shotting my entire level 2 or level 3 comp with just fucking Rabs and like level 3 sorcerer buff. That's crazy. Like, I don't know. Things just kind of slip through and Riot needs to address them. And the sad truth, the final point of this video is I don't think Riot will. I don't think Riot will. I think what'll kill this game is Riot's inability to balance, just like it's killing regular League now. People are wanting to not play League anymore because they refuse to buff anybody. Like, they just keep pulling champions down into the depths and giving ridiculous buffs like, what was it, plus 10 to Caitlyn's base damage or plus 5? We don't want to give Caitlyn too much power, so we're just going to give her this little buff here and see what happens. Plus 10 to attack power. Or plus 10 AD. That's really going to do what? What is she going to do now? Suddenly go from, being the best ADC in the game because, she has range to now one-shotting everybody and then still being the best ADC? No. I don't know. It's just dumb. Maybe she's not the best. She's up there, though, in the top tier because every other ADC is still pretty weak right now, and they're experimenting with Vayne buffs, which is just going to cause even more problems because once Vayne's viable, you're in trouble because Vayne can hyper carry a game 1v9. She pushes R, hits Q, and then she just disappears off your screen, and before you know it, your squishy 80 carry in the back is probably insta-killed by one of her tumbles because they've buffed her too much again. That's just the problem. It's the same champions always getting overbuffed in that game. I don't want to see that in TFT. I absolutely don't. I would love to see them, give other champions the time to shine. Give some of your other units more power in the early game. Like, the game is literally played mostly in the early game. It's very rare that everybody makes it to the late game where, they're all level 8 and level 7 and level 9. Very rare that happens. But that's because, people econ properly and they get way ahead and they start just wrecking house. I don't know. It's a frustrating situation. And I really don't want to see this game suffer like that. I don't. It's a fun game, Auto chess is fun because it lets me, chat with people on Twitch when they come into my stream and I can focus on the conversation I'm having. As of late, I've been experimenting with playing like Xenoblade Chronicles with TFT up so you guys can watch both games. Just because this game allows you to do that. Like, it's not a game that you have to, immensely, like a first-person shooter, be focusing hard on. You just have to, you get 40 seconds, make sure your units are where they are, decide if you're going to roll ahead of time, or if you're going to level up, and then you just plan accordingly. So, anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I'm done ranting. I'm sure you guys are probably done listening to me rant. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that they should keep doing the weird balancing on live where they make a class tier 3 impossible to get in order to add new champions to the game? Or do you think that they should just leave well enough alone, make the tier 3 the max amount you can get on live, so that way you have to commit to it, and go from there? What do you guys think about the carousel idea? Do you think that 8th place should have priority on the carousel, or are you fine with it the way it is now? What about items? Do you think that they should make it to where everything drops items, get rid of the gold, and this way everybody has items and they can use their items to counter other people? Let me know down below, guys, what you guys think about all this. Like I said, I know it was a rambly video, and I apologize for that. But at the same time, I wanted to do something like this. Because, like I said, I like the game. It's fun. But I will catch you guys on the next video. And to give you a heads up what that might be, I think it's going to be a World of Warcraft video. I'm going to do another year-end review where I talk about BFA, because I did a video when BFA first came out. I think it was called BFA the First 3 Days or something like that, as a review, and I wanted to do a follow-up after the year anniversary. So thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out the Twitch down below. I'm always playing. I will play with people in chat as well if they want to come in and hang out. Just come into my Twitch chat. Let me know who you are on League, so I'm not adding random strangers who I don't know. So anyway, catch you guys later. Thanks for watching. Hopefully